see, it's fair to say that Shakespeare had seen it, done it all before, and what you're seeing now is just a reworking of what happened many years ago. Twelfth Night tells a very intriguing story with subplots as well, and being performed by Compton Little Theatre in the west of Surrey, so a little bit of a journey for you. And I'm glad to say, joining me on the line now is director Mike Hough. So just tell me, what is the history of Twelfth Night? So condense 2 hours into 30 seconds.
2 hours into 30 seconds? Well, it was written, first performed around about 1600, so it's a 400-year play, but as you said in your introduction there, it's very humane, it's very modern in its themes, which are about sort of people falling in love with each other, making misconceptions and mistaken identities, and very humorous. So we did our first performance last night, and the audience were in raptures. So yeah, it's one of his greatest, in my view, one of his best comedies. Some of the other comedies are equally good, but in a different way. But this one has always been my favourite.
I think you probably just answered my question there, why you chose it. But is it a bit of a risk doing Shakespeare? Because I've heard it's a little bit of a Marmite, really.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, some people like it, some people don't, and that's fair enough. I think what I did is I chose a Shakespeare. This is the first time that Compton's ever done a full Shakespeare play of any sort. But I chose Twelfth Night because it was light, it's funny, it's humorous, and also it has the opportunity to get a good cast in there. And we've definitely got a very good and talented cast putting the play on. The actors are really risen to the occasion, and some of the people are merging into their characters. God knows what they're going to do on Monday morning.
It is interesting you saying that, because if you've got the script there and you've got obviously the feeling of what you're trying to get across, you've got the vision as the director, but it all comes down to ultimately whether you've got the people that can bring it to life on the night. Yeah, correct. Yeah, I mean, this play, I'm old enough to have done O-level, so I did this play for my O-level. I really, really enjoyed it. Studied it again. It was a part of my university course. But, you know, I've always wanted to produce it and direct it. So what I did is actually abridged a little bit up. So I downloaded a copy of the text and shortened it and moved some things around. And so really, one of my worries was that it wouldn't sell as a show, but that's been proven to be a false worry, because you know the tickets are selling well, and I think it's really because it's a very good comedy, and what I'm telling people is it's a light comedy. You know, don't worry, it's not over-educational, it's not academic. It's a very light comedy, and some great characters in there. Earlier on the programme, I was saying how Blackadder, in one of the episodes, the young girl is saying to her father, I'm going to go to London dressed as a boy and seek my fortune. Yeah. And it's obvious where he got the idea from. Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, in Shakespeare's days, all the actors were male. They were either young boys or men. So it's quite odd to think that some of the finest, you know, female roles ever written, Lady Macbeth and Juliet, etc., were played by men. So it's quite interesting. In fact, I'm doing slightly reverse here, because when we auditioned, we didn't quite have enough men. So I've given quite a number of the characters which are usually played by male actors to female actors, and they've done a cracking job. You know, they are brilliant at them. It is interesting that right at the start, Viola comes in and is going to then become a man. But going back to when it was performed in Shakespeare's day, I think you said there was boys pretending to be women, pretending to be men. Correct. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And now what I've added, of course, purely by having necessity, is women pretending to be men, pretending to be women, pretending to be men. If you can follow that, good luck. It sounds perfect for Shakespeare. Yeah. So it's going to be very difficult for this next question, because you know I guess everybody wants to sort of be the one the director highlights for a performance. So I'm going to put it to you in a different way. Is there a particular character that you particularly enjoy in this production? Is there a particular character? Well, I'm going to give you a political answer. I think they're all wonderful, to be honest. I think in terms of who does it rely on the most, who's the linchpin? It's a character called Viola, and that's played beautifully by
a young lady called Rosie Clark, who's 17, and she's doing the part fantastic with fantastic talent. But I'm very well blessed because the whole cast is very talented, and to pick anyone out is almost impossible. But in terms of the character that's most important as the linchpin, it would be Viola. Yeah.
Is it difficult when you look at most plays, we're talking the language as we are talking now, and if something goes slightly wrong, you could perhaps work your way out of it staying in character, but to try and do that if something starts to go a little bit wrong with Shakespearean language, that must be hard and at an extra level as well.
Yeah, I think that's often on the cast's mind. If you get a prompt sometimes, certainly in a panto, it doesn't matter too much because you can get yourself out of it. But in Shakespeare, you can hardly say, "Oh, forsooth, I have forgotten my line, good sir." It just doesn't come across. So you do have to be very much on the ball, which is why I've been very keen that the cast learned their lines early on, which they did, and thank you to the cast if you're listening for that. So that the lines became embedded. So it is incredibly difficult if you get caught in a loop, or if you get caught in a verbal sort of moment of lack of words. You can't really make Shakespeare up. Exactly, yeah. But so far so good. Touching piece of wood here.
That's absolutely fantastic. Thank you very much indeed, Mike, and very good luck to you and the rest of the cast tonight.
Thank you very much.
And one of the lines that's in the production is talking about putting a hand on a certain part of anatomy, so everyone needs a bosom. And this is a particular favourite of Joe, who's asked me to play Brimful of Asher, which is corner shop, so if you know what I'm talking about, look out for this lyric. 3 minutes to 2 at Susy.
There's dancing behind movie